All right, and welcome to part two of Red Bull versus Mercedes at Saudi Arabia. This time, we're going to be taking a closer look at Perez and Bottas and their roles on the drive. I think this was a very eventful race for both of them. One showed a clear, almost max level desperation, whereas the other one showed a Lewis type dedication and consistency.
I wouldn't call it Lewis, but I'd call it all reliable.
Yeah, oh, reliable.
All reliable, man. He
So
gonna keep running.
Red Bull, Mercedes, championships heating up. Constructors wise, I think they're both still in it, even post race for Saudi Arabia. Um,
Barely.
but Red Bull came into this race with an 8 point deficit, right? Something like that.
Yeah, now it's 27.
So they had a chance to kind of either close that up, maybe on points, or at least make it not go too wide, maybe into the 20s, right? And so it was pretty interesting the important role that these second drivers are going to be playing in these second races or these last two races, and obviously what they played in this Saudi Arabian GP. Perez, oh, man, what a tough race for him.
Yeah,
Um,
he played the number two driver and got treated like number two.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it was his own moves at the end of the day that messed him up. But
yeah.
he
I
was
think,
put in that position because he was driver number two.
yeah, yeah. So at the start, the very first start, Perez is coming down, gets a really good start. I think arguably better than Max. And he's coming out and going into that first turn because Max is looking to make that first turn. He ends up slowing down. Perez has to slam on his brakes to just not touch Max. And so I think kudos there. I think that could have ended really awfully. That would have ruined, that would have soured this whole championship, in my opinion, if Perez would have taken out Max. I could not imagine what that would have been like. So fortunately, he did
Depressing.
avoid that error.
Yeah. No, it would have been sad. Like it would have been the most sour tasting race to date that I've been watching.
Yeah. Yeah, and Perez, so coming out of that turn, he stayed in the same position he qualified in. So he stayed right behind Leclerc in P5. And when that safety car came out from Mick Schumacher's crash, they used, Red Bull used Perez as a sacrifice, and they followed Mercedes' strategy. And they basically covered, just like you were saying earlier,
Yeah,
right?
it was a copycat. It's a pretty simple strategy just to cover your opponents. Like they both went in, so it's like, of course, Red Bull at least put one in. But yeah, he's gonna get the two strategy no matter what. He's gonna go long or he's gonna go short, and whichever one. Usually, the two strategy is not as good,
Yeah,
not as aggressive and competitive.
yeah. And so that there took Paris from a comfortable P5, which would have been great race result. I mean, not ideal, right? Maybe P3, P4 would have been better, but P5 would have been very nice. Fortunately, set him back quite a bit. He ended up in P8 after the pits. And so going into that first restart, he was already kind of on that back foot, and he was going up against some very greedy folk in the midfield, the folks of Ferrari, McLaren. He had the Alfa Romeo. He had Gasly right next to him. So he was put into this really difficult position now where, maybe the people in the front are going to be a little more careful. Obviously, that was not the case, though. Now he's in the midfield fighting multiple cars from every single angle, front, back, side, back. Pretty nuts position to be in for that first restart.
Yeah, it hurts to watch. I mean, I don't like talking about it. Like it just makes my head hurt because coming out, it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
And I know in these F1 cars and these races, everything happens fast. But this one just seemed like an absolute shock to me. And even watching the replays and watching everything getting squeezed, and Perez just put himself into a bad spot. He got a great, like, bump off of turn two. That's why he shot that gap. But
Mm-hmm.
it closed way faster than he thought.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was an act of desperation or he just really, really thought he was going to get it. But it looked a little desperate, and obviously hindsight's 2020, and I think if he could look back, he wouldn't do it again. I think his car was fast enough that he could have eventually gotten up to P3,
Yeah.
P4
He
if
could
he
have been
stayed in the
fighting for a
race.
podium with Bottas.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was super, super unfortunate. So, I think he maybe just he was focusing on two cars. I think maybe he was just focusing on Leclerc, because what he said was he didn't even think that Leclerc was there. And
Yeah,
even
he was
Leclerc,
right behind him. I mean, he was in kind of a dead zone for his eyes,
yeah,
and they're not really looking at their rear views when they're going 180 around these turns with walls in between them.
yeah, yeah, definitely Perez was just looking ahead, trying to get out of there. But man, that was just pretty unfortunate. The camera shot was pretty funny, just kind of seeing a Red Bull just spinning out in that really small lane. You see George Russell just explode into pieces, just from a second driver for Red Bull who has the point to prove, right? He wants to do well. From a Constructors Championship point, just really poor race, unfortunately. That caused him to DNF. He was left out there alone for quite a while.
Yeah, looking like the last kid at the bus stop.
Yeah.
His mom hasn't picked him up yet.
The administrator comes out and asks him, "Hey, do you want to come into the office? Because your
No, I'm
parents don't want
good.
to pick you up."
My car might start working.
Yeah, and I think they were even saying that he was like trying to get his car rolled back into the safety lane, but it just wasn't possible at that point. I had hope. I was like, maybe they'll bring it in, but once that car wouldn't move, yeah, I think I knew
Yeah,
from there it
if
was
it
pretty
can't
much
move
over.
under its own power, it's over. And it couldn't do it. But I do have a question for you. So let's say we revert this to last weekend. If Max got P1, if Perez got P4, P3 from qualifying, do you think it would have been a way different race? Or do you think the same events probably would have happened? Like, let's say Schumacher still spun and they went with the same strategy. Do you think if Max started P1,
He would have
maybe
pitted.
had more confidence, maybe pitted,
Yeah.
maybe Perez would have stayed out? Like, I just wonder, because you were talking about confidence in the last video after crashing and qualifying. Do you think that really messed with him enough that if it didn't happen, he would have a more, I guess, professional race?
I think so. I think he wouldn't have been so shaken up. He wouldn't have been so. Both of them, and when I say both of them, I do mean Bottas. I mean Perez and Verstappen. I think they wouldn't have been as desperate to try and just gain and get ahead on those first turns. They would have realized we have the pace, because the car was looking great on qualifying and
It was looking great in the race, too,
in the
for the
race
most
as
part,
well.
until the
Yeah,
tires went out.
right. And so it was like they didn't have to risk it all. When you're fighting for a championship, you don't have to risk it all in these first turns. You can wait and see, just get out of there alive. And unfortunately, I don't think they were thinking like that. And I think it was because of the events that happened before.
Yeah.
So Perez, unfortunately, DNF'd at this point. Red Bull's 28 points behind. I think it's going to take, either a crazy spin from one of the Mercedes team members or a DNF from one of them for them to really have a hope. Because at this point, Bottas is on fire. He's super consistent. He's been getting podiums back to back. Lewis, the same thing. If Max and Checo want to claw back at them, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult one to do, at least in one race time. So if it's me calling it, I don't think they're going to win the Constructors. I think Max still has a chance to win, obviously, but I think Constructors-wise, I think this DNF from Perez just ruined it.
It would take a 1-2 from Red Bull next
Okay.
race in Abu Dhabi.
Okay, so if they get 1-2 and then Lewis 3-4 with both us, would that be enough points?
I don't know if the math works out because they're minus 28. No, I think even then Bottas would have to be a little more behind.
I think he'd have to finish like 6,
Yeah.
or 7, where he's only getting
He'd
like
have to have a
2,
really
3
bad
points.
race. But I mean, right now Bottas is looking like the best second driver in history.
Yeah.
Like he is making Lewis look really good.
Yeah, and Bottas is let's go into Bottas right now that we're done with Paris. Qualified super well to keep that P2, not crash, not deal with any traffic, not deal with any on track traffic that would mess up his lap. I think he ended up doing really well this weekend, and he stayed really calm, cool, and collected.
And he did lock up on 2 starts and he flat spotted on one of them. But even then, he had good starts.
Yeah.
On the first one, he had a really reliable start.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that's what we worry about with Bottas is his starts are shaky at best, especially when he starts P1.
Yeah.
With this one, he really held on. He was the glue for Mercedes for those first 10 laps.
Yeah, I think Toto and the Mercedes team can definitely be very happy with the performance Bottas put up. He at the first part of the season, he really wasn't doing too great, but really this second half, he's completely owned the season. Whereas Perez has really only been very comfortable, maybe I would say in the middle of the season. I think
It's been so spotty.
he has very
In and out.
spotty weekends, yeah. And Bottas, he was doing not too great earlier, but he caught up. He got comfortable with the car. He's consistently qualified really well, and he's consistently finished in top results. So, Bottas this weekend, a lot of strengths came out for him, and he really played that second driver role the way it was supposed to be played.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I don't think even Bottas gets a lot of hate. Like, I don't see people hating on him because it's like, how can you hate this guy?
Yeah, I'm a Bottas fan for sure.
He's awesome. I can't wait to see him in another car as a starting driver,
Yeah.
as the number one spot, as the number one seat. I'm hyped for him. He is the most like humble, quiet kind of guy. While Max, Mazepin, Hamilton, they're all out partying. He's like doing a bike race with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's totally chilling, drinking coffee, exercising a bunch. Really, really big kudos to Bottas.
Yeah.
I think Red Bull versus Mercedes wise, he's pretty much sealed the deal. But then again, it's not over till it's over, right?
It's not over till it's over, but Bottas, Mercedes in general, I mean, they're just like, they got the glue, man. They got this shit locked up tight.
Yeah,
It is giving me anxiety.
I didn't
think
he was gonna get that P3 at the end. He's chasing Ocon. Ocon's sitting purple sectors on the last lap. He's going fast because he knows that's what he can attainably get, right? He can get a P3. He's not going to get P1, P2 if Max and Lewis are in the race, but he can get a P3. Bottas is right on his ass, getting that superior speed on the straights. And then suddenly Bottas goes wide on one of the turns. Ocon stays ahead. And then they go into the exit of that last turn. And I don't know if you saw the replay, but I think the grip on Ocon maybe it got a little lost, but he ends up kind of
just enough of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he got a bad exit out of that last turn, and Bottas with that straight line speed just came out flying. And I think Ocon finished within.
It was 0.1.
Whew, yeah, that's.
It was an absolute photo finish.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate for Ocon. But again, that was the consistency that Bottas showed, and that's what he needed to do. Because I remember when Perez DNF'd, I think at the time Bottas was P5, and I was like, if Bottas finishes P5, it's not the end of the world. I think Red Bull still has a fighting chance coming into that next race, at least a better chance. But no, he climbed his way back up to P3, and that was pretty insane.
Yeah, I think if roles were reversed and Perez avoided that collision and Bottas hit, Perez could have done the same thing. But, damn, Bottas is fast. Mercedes is fast in a straight line. Hats off to him, man. It was really cool to watch him just constantly push, give great laps, be a reliable teammate.
Yeah.
I'm praying that next year Mercedes is going to be begging him to come back.
Yeah.
I hope that, I don't want Russell to do bad, but I don't think the way Russell drives that new Mercedes is going to make him better.
Yeah.
I think he's got a long way to go.
He's got a long way to go.
He's going to have the best driver in the world, arguably, to train him.
Yeah. Yeah, so awesome race from Bottas. Perez, better luck on this next race. Hopefully you get a second place finish because you're really going to need it. Yeah, that's how these second drivers have implicated the championship here in the second to last race. And we go into the final race, constructors-wise on points. Do you have that number off the top of your head?
28 points behind.
28 points to make up. So I think these second drivers are going to play a huge role in that last race too for the constructors. Whoever finishes up ahead is going to win that. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and like the video. Thanks.